If you want to all be pure and green, you're a minority party. San
Francisco. Morning, everybody. All right.
So we're on, I don't know, explain, we're on all over the country.
I do indeed. My producer is asking me if I have the words in the cash contest. I do, and I'll be giving them at exactly 9:54.
We're here in Milwaukee all week long at the Republican National Convention, and
Day 3 of the RNC following a jam-packed second evening that saw the official theme, Make America Safe once again, but the real theme, Republican unity amidst Democrat chaos. The first night was positively electric as former President Trump, seen in person, his ear heavily bandaged for the first time since his attempted assassination. Yesterday was all about his rivals and all about the explicit message that it's okay if you had reservations about former President Trump. It's okay if you flat out hated the man. This is quite literally the biggest of all possible tent party. Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is so great to be back here at the UWM Panther Arena. I apologize in advance, ladies and gentlemen. It has been such a fun 2 days, and I have been doing so many interviews with so many great iHeart media stations across the country and doing national television and radio hits, and frankly, just cheering my head off and talking to so many great Republicans here at the convention. My voice is starting to go, so I am going to be chugging water, which you can see on the Dan O'Cam. We are streaming via X at Dan O'Donnell Show, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. Hold on. In honor of Marco Rubio's big speech last night, I'm going to pause right in the middle, grab some water. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Quick, Marco Rubio impression, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you would like to join the show, 414-799-1130, 1-800-838-9476, call or text. And folks, we've been focusing on a lot of guests here. In fact, former Governor Scott Walker is quite literally sitting next to me. He's doing the Armstrong and Getty show. It's a fantastic iHeart media station out of California. In fact, I was talking to the guys before, just incredibly nice guys, and they're on earlier than I am. So I'm getting here preparing for the show, and I said, guys, thank you so much. I am stealing like half of the points you make. So if you get a chance, obviously after this show, check out Armstrong and Getty. Of course, Clay and Buck are here. Jesse Kelly is here. We have got Ben Ferguson, who does a national show on the weekend that you can hear on WISN. It really is an electric atmosphere, but I've been focused so much on guests the last couple of days, just talking to all of the people. Obviously, when the Speaker of the House of Representatives says he wants to come on your show, you say, when, sir? But today, I want to focus on you. because we are united not just as a Republican Party, as a conservative movement, but as a Dan O'Donnell Show family as well. Dan Nation, if you will. So I have instructed my producer to get some calls through. What have you been seeing? Because frankly, folks, I've been giving you for the last couple of days the view from inside the Pfizer forum for the speeches. And frankly, folks, you need to check out my X account, again, at Dan O'Donnell Show and Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, to get a sense of just how close I was to the former president's box. In fact, I was sitting right behind him, and I took a picture of him waving to the crowd as the closing benediction was wrapping up last night. And for Laura Trump's speech, I was sitting basically right behind him. I couldn't really see his facial expression. But I want to know, has the emotion, has the raw power of the past couple of nights come through on television? Obviously, to me at least, the biggest, best, most powerful speech in a night of some of the heaviest Republican hitters, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, all of whom we'll hear from. Vivek Ramaswamy, who I thought gave a fantastic speech. And I've never really been a fan of Vivek. I thought he was a shameless social climber when he was running in the presidential election. But as a surrogate for former President Trump, I have been nothing but impressed. And I will admit, just as a whole lot of people's opinions of Trump have changed, my opinion of Vivek has changed. He is absolutely a star in the Republican Party. He absolutely deserves a place in a new Trump administration. And his speech, I thought, was probably the second best of the night. The very best was the mother. And this is something that I've just loved watching at the RNC every single night. The focus on everyday Americans and how they've been impacted by Joe Biden's disastrous first economic policy and now on domestic policy, specifically on the issue of crime, illegal immigration. We heard from a mother whose son was killed by fentanyl brought over illegally from Mexico. But last night, the woman whose son was murdered in New York, a veteran, just absolutely brought the house down. I thought her speech was far and away the best. And the thing that has also been apparent at the RNC, it's not just about unity amongst former rivals, the Nikki Haleys, the Ron DeSantises, the little Marcos, right, the Lion Teds. He had a nickname for everybody, didn't he? Ron DeSanctimonious. We had, what was it, Tricky Nikki? Or what was Bird Brain Nikki? That was it, Bird Brain Nikki Haley. I'm still not sure exactly where that one came from. No, he clearly doesn't know, Dave, where that one came from. But it's politics. And you can tell, especially with Rubio and DeSantis. And I'm one who normally doesn't get too into the facial expressions and the reactions to speeches. But you could just tell with Trump watching this speech, he genuinely likes and admires Rubio and DeSantis. I am absolutely convinced that the thing that Trump likes is, you know, he's got this reputation of only wanting yes men around him. But I think he really does like being challenged. And that's abundantly clear by all of the people who spoke last night. Speaking of all of the Republican heavy hitters, we've got Kari Lake running for the United States Senate in Arizona. She is making the rounds at the UWM Panther Arena. I believe she's going to be talking to Armstrong and Getty. We'll see if we can snag her if she's got a second, but she's literally standing right in front of me. This is the sort of thing about the RNC, by the way. I hope I don't sound too scatterbrained. But the thing about the RNC is that you turn around and it'll be, hey, what do you know? There's former Governor Tommy Thompson. Hey, what do you know? There's Sean Hannity. I walked out yesterday on the media center floor, and I'm looking for somebody I was supposed to meet up with and chat very quickly with. And as God is my witness, I almost barreled right over Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Did not even see her, turned a corner, and almost knocked her up. She is way smaller than she appears to be on TV. The message of unity was perhaps most powerfully delivered by Haley, as she was the one who was most viciously attacking Trump over the past year. There was a question about whether she would endorse him, whether she would come around. Was she going to leverage the running mate position, the vice presidency, for her endorsement? It turned out all it took was her understanding what's at stake, her understanding that we can't afford to lose this race, for her to give a fantastic speech filled with the message of unity last night.
I gotta go back to anger. How in the hell have they not nailed down where the failure was yet? Oh, wait. It's inexcusable. It's not partisan. I went out there years ago when someone had a drunk that came from Obama. They said, I'm not, they should all be punished. Right. And now we're juggling a lot of balls. We have to be right.
That is Nikki Haley delivering a powerful endorsement of former President Trump, as this was somebody who, and a lot of this, folks, was kind of media spin. Let's be totally honest with you. Another message that has been abundantly clear at the RNC over the first couple of nights is that the myth of Donald Trump created by the media is in no way close to the man. That message was powerfully delivered by Laura Trump, the RNC co-chair, and also the wife of Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump. Donald Trump Jr. is dating or possibly married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, the former Fox News personality. But Laura Trump delivered a powerful message saying, look, and this was something that Amber Rose said, the hip-hop influencer. She said on the first night that what you think you know about Donald Trump is not at all rooted in reality. And it gets to the much deeper issue of how reality is constructed for us, because obviously you're not here at the RNC. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. You're relying on me to essentially be your eyes and ears, to communicate the goings-on of whatever the delegates are up to, whatever speeches are going on, whatever is going on behind the scenes. Here's another classic example, another perfect example. There was an officer-involved shooting. Columbus, Ohio police shot and killed a homeless man who was attacking another homeless man with a knife. Now, a lot of media outlets, I'm told 7 Journal-Sentinel reporters are on this story. Is that the entire Journal-Sentinel newsroom right now they have covering this story? Some news outlets were reporting that as another example of an unjustified killing of a black man by police officers. Well, if you were following this radio station, you were following my coverage on social media yesterday, you would realize right away that this was a shooting that was justified. It had nothing to do with the RNC and that sort of thing. But the reality is presented to you by necessity because you are not omnipresent. And you can't be everywhere and see everything and hear everything all at once. You're dependent upon people to inform you about global events. This is why the right to a free press is enshrined in the very First Amendment to our Constitution, why it's as far back as the 1700s we understood, after centuries of the written word being used to inform the masses of what's going on with their governments. We understand the need for that. But when that press doesn't present a reality to the masses that is anywhere near consistent with actual reality, then you don't have an informed electorate. And that's what we've had for almost a decade with former President Trump. And this is why it's been so important to get the unvarnished reality here at the Republican National Convention from the people who were supposedly so anti-Trump, so never Trump. I mean, how many times do you see, I'm just going to use an example. He is a friend of mine, and I have made a pledge on this show. I'm never going to rip on him. But Charlie Sykes is on MSNBC all the time precisely because he's, at least ostensibly, a Republican, a conservative who has seen the light about Trump and the entire Republican Party and the GOP, and he now says everything that liberals say. But he's still a Republican. He's still a Republican who votes for Joe Biden. Okay. But Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Marco Rubio, and to a much lesser extent, Vivek Ramaswamy, who was in the race, but instead of going after the leading candidate, did nothing but praise him and echo what he was saying. I said right away, Vivek is running to be vice president, not president. Or Vivek is running to be Secretary of Labor or something like that. He wanted a position in the Trump cabinet, in other words. But when you have people actually seeing the unity that's present, it is a stark contrast to what was going on in Democrat circles yesterday. Just a couple of weeks before their convention, I believe it starts in almost exactly a month, just a couple of weeks before, they actually are moving to enshrine Biden, to solidify his nomination weeks early because of a backroom plot by delegates to award the nomination to anybody else, most likely Kamala Harris. That disunity does not win elections, generally speaking. And if you go back through pretty much all of presidential history, the party that's more unified, the party that gets behind their nominee, the party that has a singular message and, more importantly, a singular purpose is the one that wins. Which one does that sound like right now? You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. When we come back, we will hear more of the speeches live from the Republican National Convention here in downtown Milwaukee. Live from the Republican National Convention, it is the Dan O'Donnell Show. We are so glad to be here. The message last night, clearly one of unity, and already Democrats are jumping all over Nikki Haley because of what she said back in February, where she was trying to win the Republican endorsement from Trump and said, in private, Republicans privately dread Trump. Behind closed doors, they say, what a disaster he'll be as the nominee. Is there a single Republican saying that now? Everything changed, folks, and I don't think it's possible to overstate just how much things changed after Saturday. Republicans are more unified, I dare say, than they ever have been. And Haley made it abundantly clear. Look, even if you don't like Trump, even if you personally think that he's not a particularly good human being, you still need to vote for him because we can't continue. The current path is unsustainable. The debt load that everyday Americans are feeling simply is going to bankrupt them within the next couple of years. The fact that we can no longer afford groceries and gas, for goodness sakes, should tell you pretty much everything you need to know. The fact that our streets are not nearly as safe as they were just 5 years ago. Compare pre-George Floyd 2020, when pretty much every Democrat city, including here in Milwaukee, just moved to decriminalize crime. Compare that to 2018, to 2019. There's just no comparison. And now, of course, Democrats are crying, look at how the violent crime rate has gone down over the past couple of years. Well, yeah, we're still at 30-year highs for homicides, for rapes, for violent assaults. We're still nowhere near where we were in the Trump era. Illegal immigration, it's not even the same country. We've imported a new country under Joe Biden. So Nikki Haley, her message was very simple. You don't have to like Trump to like the prosperity, to like the peace, to like the message, to like how you lived before Joe Biden.
Also, African American. And so what you're seeing is a new electoral realignment in which the Democrats are becoming the party of the coastal elites, of people on welfare, and of illegals. While you have now the MAGA Republican Party under Trump, the party of middle America.
That is really good. That is freaking good.
And working class, and of all races, all ethnicities,
Whatever
genders, men, women, young, or if this America First vote
never challenge
and mark my words,
Let's see, there are a couple of clips that
I couldn't have said it any better myself. We have a country to save. Number of texters chiming in. They're just mad, Democrats are. Someone who got more Democrat votes in the primaries than Biden endorsed Trump. Love it. By the way, we do not just have a country to save, we also have $1,000 to award. It's the Sizzlin' Summer Cash Contest. The word this hour is check. C-H-E-C-K, check. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword check to enter the contest for this hour. Go to our website, C-H-E-C-K. It is very easy. And enter the keyword check. We've had how many winners thus far? Producer Dave on WISN 2-3. I think Vicky had one and Mark had one. I know we're going to heat up in the Sizzling Summer Cash Contest because there is tremendous interest in the Republican National Convention, and we have got a whole lot more from it live from the UWM Panther Arena coming up in just a second. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
still moving?
Dan O'Donnell here live at the Republican National Convention, presented by AmericanMedicalPlans.com. Save 30 to 60% with better coverage at AmericanMedicalPlans.com. The message is one of unity, and this comes as President Biden is looking to shore up his far left. Because, of course, it's Republicans who are the threat to democracy. The executive branch now wants to assert control over the judicial. Biden, according to the New York Times this morning, is finalizing plans to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court, including proposals for legislation to establish term limits for the justices and an enforceable ethics code, according to two people briefed on the plans. He's also weighing whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad immunity for presidents and other constitutional office holders. The people said, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss private deliberations. Now, why might he be doing this? So he has more ammunition to further prosecute former President Trump, and so that the United States Supreme Court can't really stop him. This all comes as the Democrats are looking to, within the next couple of days, possibly by the end of July, solidify Biden's nomination because they're so terrified that the Democrat convention could descend into absolute madness with an open convention, that President Biden wouldn't be able to get support of the delegates. We got a text here on the AdventNews.com talk and text line. Ironic that Republicans are more unified than ever at the convention in the state where the party was born. That's right. Excellent point. 1848. There is, in fact, outside a replica of the Little White Schoolhouse in Ripon, where it's widely believed and generally considered that the Republican Party was, in fact, founded. I think it's also fantastic that the party is unifying around Trump in a building that looks exactly like Donald Trump's hair. I have been saying this ever since the first plans were drawn up for the Fiserv Forum, that the roof looks exactly like Donald Trump. Now, that's true irony, since the former owner who built the arena, Mark Lazary, was a massive Democrat bundler. Folks, in presidential politics, the party that's more unified, in politics generally, the party that's more unified is the party that wins. And the party that wins is the party that gets out its votes. When you're not unified, your voters have a tendency to say, okay, well, maybe I don't need to brave a thunderstorm or a snowstorm, or maybe I've got a doctor's appointment. Voting's not all that important. Now, some of that enthusiasm advantage that Republicans enjoy, in fact, a good measure of it, is muted by the Democrats' insanely good get out the vote operation. I've called it the Ernie von Schledorn method of voting. They push, pull, or drag their voters in. They essentially have people out in the field filling out ballots with, like, watching people fill out their mail-in ballots and then mailing them back for them. This is the extent to which Democrat operatives, especially on college campuses where they have in-person absentee balloting pretty much in every dorm room and cafeteria, and they know exactly who hasn't voted yet and who they need to harass until they finally do vote. This is the reason that we have seen such an impressive turnout in Madison for the last decade. It's reliance on big data, and it's an impressive ability to turn out every last voter by essentially getting a paid operative in their face. Now, we did get some good news. I'm not sure how much this was covered on other shows. I haven't really been consuming a whole lot of media because I've been spending pretty much every day and night here covering things at the convention. But Elon Musk pledging $45 million a month goes a long way towards Republicans woefully behind get out the vote operation. And forget about putting ads on Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. All of that money needs to be spent in pressing the advantage that we have of the sympathy and the support for President Trump following the assassination attempt, and the fact that the country there is just a palpable sense, and there has been for, well, 3.5 years now, that the country is just in a bad place. We're overrun with 3, 5, 10, 12 million illegal immigrants. Nobody's quite sure. Nobody can afford groceries anymore. The crime rates have skyrocketed. Oh, wait, but they're down this year when the FBI reporting statistics have changed, and many major American cities haven't actually been reporting their statistics. Compare the Biden administration's crime rate to the Trump administration's crime rate, and also remember that everywhere there is violent crime in America, statistically speaking, a Democrat is in charge and has been in charge forever. People out of town, by the way, that I've been talking to cannot fathom that a Republican has not been the mayor of Milwaukee since 1908, and that we have had multiple socialist mayors since then. We're the only city in America that has had multiple socialist mayors. Every other city had one socialist, and they're like, yeah, that's okay. We're done. We're good. We've had enough. Milwaukee is like, give me some more. And the irony of that is that the socialists were actually much better at governing than the Democrats. But the message is of unification. And I know old habits die hard. I've been calling him Vivek Ramaswamy. It is pronounced Vivek. Had one fantastic message about unity. The most unifying thing of all is success, not necessarily personal or electoral success, but success of America.
Tear down a branch of government or an important institution by changing it at all. For instance, when Donald Trump attempts to make it easier to fire government employees, which is one of the things he's running, that's reforming the federal government, that's reforming that executive branch. But it won't be looked at that way. That's not the way they're going to talk.
Well, no, it's not. When Trump said, look,
and it's not just unifying Republicans, it's unifying disaffected Democrats. No one is more emblematic of that than former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who joins me now live on the phone. Ms. Gabbard, it is a pleasure to have you back on the Dan O'Donnell Show. So you were somebody who obviously started deeply opposing Trump, all Republicans. You were a Democrat, but you have now given him your full-throated endorsement. Why? What was the moment that you realized that the current path we're on is not sustainable?
Life-saving reforms. For instance, the MRAP. He's trying to get rid of the old MRAP that would deflect the explosive power IEDs. And he was fighting his own department to get that funded to get those achieved and built to save our guys' lives. Brave young Americans died because of that bureaucratic blow. So the idea that wanting to clean the house and that somehow bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. are sacrosanct. What the hell did that come from?
A Democrat does it to reform, a conservative does it, it's attacking the institution.
Well, good luck with that, Joe. Not only are you wildly unjust when I'm not president, but again, so much of this, including this student loan giveaway from they just want credit from the voters. And if you think they I mean, this is a ridiculous. Over $1 million per family in cold hard cash, untraceable bills, or what? And the net worth is
Reading the New York Times had an article about how the donor class is being empowered to fight and step aside. The big donors. Mr. Biden has had relatively few defenders among the country's biggest donors. Democratic insight?
Well, President Biden just today sent signals that he wants to essentially take over the Supreme Court. Oh, we're going to have term limits. We're going to have ethical guidelines. This, to me, is nothing more than a baby step towards what the left has wanted forever, and that's FDR-style court packing. They want to just put their own justices on the court, and believe you me, if they get the House, if they get the Senate, if they get the presidency this November, that's exactly what they'll do, because a conservative 6-3 majority, which just ruled on President Trump's immunity a couple of weeks ago, stopped them in what they ultimately wanted to do, prosecute political opposition. To me, there's nothing more anti-democratic than that.
And then he's going to deliver remarks at some annual conference in Las Vegas for the Hispanic crowd also. I'm not sure what level of gas would he have to have that would cut through at this point. I'm not sure. Because I watched a couple of interviews yesterday, and it was horrible. In a vacuum, it was horrible. Yeah. But when you're used to it, it was like, I didn't even think, it's no point in grabbing it. I mean, we've had plenty of him stumbling and not making sense of it. I don't even know if he could cut through himself. He would have to fall over, which might happen.
We have a couple more blind clips. I want to do some of those everyday American.
But EEAs, they're called.
No, it certainly isn't. And this is why America, I think, really needs to unite around former President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, what do you hope to hear tonight from President Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance?
Oh, I would. Yes, it is here in the EVA.
She is Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat representative, now full-fledged Trump supporter. We really do appreciate you coming on and taking some time to talk to us, Tulsi. Thank you so much. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. More live from the Republican National Convention coming up after this. We are here at the Republican National Convention, proof that you never know who's going to stop by amidst his many media obligations. Former governor, current president of YAF, the Young America's Foundation, Scott Walker, joining us live here at UWM Panther Arena on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Sir, your thoughts about the convention thus far?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, we started out early this morning, did our first TV interview at 7. We've been going nonstop. My voice is almost gone. But I can't tell you how excited delegates, alternates, visitors, even law enforcement. I love talking to the cops and troopers and sheriff deputies from all across the country. They're loving it. I'll make sure they get cheese curds as well. But it's just been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. And most importantly, we're focused. We're united.
Yeah, we are. And that was the message last night. And as somebody who obviously ran for president in 2016 against former President Trump, you very quickly realized that when President Trump was solidifying the nomination back then, that he was the one to bring a conservative voice. Remember, Wisconsin back in 2016 was the last state that voted against former President Trump, voted against Donald Trump. So we sort of had this strong contingent, I don't want to say about never Trump voters, but about Trump skeptical or Trump hesitant people. And that message coming in Wisconsin last night that it's okay not to like everything about him. It's okay not to like his personality. We've got a country to save, I think was very powerful.
Oh, amazingly so, because you saw Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. I'm glad they got a chance to speak. I thought each of their messages were extremely powerful. As you know, particularly here in Wisconsin, in the suburbs, someone like Nikki Haley goes a long way towards voters who voted for Trump in 16 and maybe backed away because of his tone, and not substance, but tone in 2020, who already were having buyer's remorse because of Joe Biden not living up to any of the promises they thought for unity and focus and attention, and instead just personally saying how their lives and their families are much more challenged when it comes to affordability, safety, and security. Now we see this unified party. Who would have thought 6
Got the party in such disarray that they are literally unable to come up with a coherent reason why Biden should continue to go forward. He actually had a remarkable appearance. Let's see, do we have some time to play this? Producer Dave, the montage of President Biden. Can you get that? I'm unable to play cuts over here. This is President I'm down, right, Dave? I said I'm down. I'm not on the air. Okay, good. Hi, everybody watching on the YouTube and Facebook stream. How you guys doing? Had some camera issues. It didn't like Scott Walker. I don't know what to tell you. The camera just went down. Actually, what happened, we have a device called Elgato's CamLink 4K, so it allows me to use a television camera and stream it live. I have to plug something in. And it just went down, and in the course of fixing it, I spilled coffee literally all over the carpet. Don't worry, we have got Mike, we have got Chris here from iHeart Corporate who are taking care of it. Yes. Yeah, well, this is me. You guys are getting the full experience of the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's that?
I think I may feel sorry for your wife.
You should. Oh my goodness, this is way too much fun. Dave, do you have our friend the protester? Oh, okay. Guys, you're not going to want to miss this. I found the woman. She was back there yesterday. She was the only protester who was there, and it was hilarious. So what do you guys think? Should I do a live stream, no radio, and just kind of chat with people on the various socials? Hold on, we got to do a radio show. The message on the second night of the RNC: unity amongst Republicans and Americans behind former President Trump, showing his steely resolve just a couple of days after surviving an assassination attempt. And we now know why, ladies and gentlemen. We now know why there were so many failures of the Secret Service on that fateful afternoon. According to Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle, it's because the gunman was on a sloped roof. I don't even know what to say to that. There's an image going around. It's going viral on social media right now. Do you know what it shows? Producer Dave, take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. Just what do you think this image shows? A freaking cow on a sloped roof. If a cow can get up on a sloped roof and not fall to its delicious hamburgery death, a Secret Service sniper can be up on a sloped roof. How this woman still has a job, frankly, is an abomination. All right, my blood pressure is going to go down. I promise you, because we have got more fantastic audio sound bites. And, quite possibly, the best of the day. We didn't get to it at the end of last hour because of former Governor Scott Walker. My friends, we have to get to it now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to name your unhinged liberal of the day. Do you remember when President George W. Bush came out, I think it was a Sunday morning in 2003, maybe early 2004. I believe it was late 2003, maybe November, December of 2003. And he says, "My fellow Americans, we got him." talking about Saddam Hussein after they found him in the rat hole. My fellow Wisconsinites, we found her. The lone protester with the megaphone who I told you this yesterday, I was able to get on video. Singing songs, well, kind of singing songs, a sing-songy chant, and then periodically just devolving into guttural screams at people going into the RNC. She was back yesterday, and I'm not saying Democrats and liberals have given up on the presidential election. I am not saying they have given up. But she was literally the only protester outside the RNC at about midday yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, a strong contender for Unhinged Liberal of the Year. Here she is.
So, Biden, just in the battleground state, is below 40%. He's in the 30s in the battleground.
She might be the Unhinged Liberal of the Year. What do you think? Producer Dave, strong competition from Becky Pringle wanting to win all the things. I'm going to go right back out there because I wasn't able to capture. I had to catch an Uber. We were on our way to cover that officer-involved shooting, a story that we'll get to in just a second. So I couldn't stay too long to record her. I am going to get, she'll do the sing-songy thing, and then she will start screaming, Trump is the devil. And she definitely needs a lozenge. I was worried that my voice sounded a little raspy. I don't know how I would do after 7 hours singing to myself outside the RNC. I guess she's doing admirably. That woman, your Unhinged Liberal of the Day. Yes, I do believe you will hear the Donald Trump is trash soundbite later on. If I can get her screaming, folks, I promise I will do a live stream with this woman. It was that funny. Like she would do, Donald Trump is trash. Trump is an insurrectionist. She would just go 0 to psycho in about 3 seconds flat. And let me tell you, folks, I am here for it. Obviously, a very, very serious story. Yesterday, Columbus, Ohio police officers, in a shooting that I broke exclusively on social media and had reports throughout the afternoon, shot and killed a homeless man who, according to a woman who identified herself as his sister, was a bipolar schizophrenic who was living on the streets at Martin Luther King Park. Remember, the homeless were cleared out of the secure zone, and there was a pop-up homeless camp that went up in this. He got into a knife fight with another homeless man. Columbus police officers who happened upon the scene caught him in the act of attempting to stab this other man and open fire. My sources said they shot 16 times between the 5 officers who were on the scene. Now, the big concern about this was that this was going to touch off protests that would devolve into violence and outright rioting, even if they would never get anywhere near the RNC. And frankly, folks, that I can tell you with the security that's in place would be an absolute impossibility. However, Milwaukee burning while the RNC and its delegates are partying and Donald Trump is here would not be what we wanted. In fact, you could tell that the media was hot to trot. I have been saying all summer, they have been auditioning new George Floyds for the 2024 election cycle. They want that unrest because they believe that that translates into Democrat votes. They so believe that they are the party that can quell civil unrest, even though they've been the party that's essentially been behind civil unrest for the past 60 or 70 years. Nonetheless, it's a political stratagem, and the media has been fanning the flames of this, as evidenced by the fact that you have 7 Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporters assigned to this story. I can't name 7 Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporters total in the entire newsroom. So the media is all there. And I saw while I was covering the scene, and yes, I am told by a number of texters and emailers that it's quite the topic of conversation amongst the delegates and volunteers here. Dan O'Donnell scooting around on his Lime scooter outside of the secure zone. Yes, it is. Yes, if you want a picture, I will get a picture with you. Just stop me on my scooter if you see me downtown today. I'll probably be around all day and all night again. So, yeah, well, the shooting was like 1.5 miles away, Dave. I needed to get somewhere, and I wasn't going to walk. I'm in dress shoes. It's hot as heck. And, frankly, I'm out of shape. So, I'm telling you, I know a lot of people don't like the Lime scooters. When you need to use one, they are fantastic. So, nonetheless, I'm there, and all of the press is so hyper-focused on this because they want to take the attention away. If it wasn't beyond apparent in the month leading up to the Republican National Convention, the media doesn't want to talk about the RNC. It wants to talk about the protests at the RNC. They want to get this idea and this narrative that Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and pretty much everybody is actually opposed to the RNC. And then, after we hear this buildup, the march, the coalition to march on the RNC, what are they going to be allowed to do? What are they ultimately going to do? It fizzles. They had a pathetic showing on Monday, and then unfortunately for them, and this should show you how artificial and how astroturf a lot of these social justice protests are. All of the out-of-state protesters, after the coalition to march to the RNC did their thing in the early afternoon hours of Monday, they all got on planes. All of the out-of-state agitators got on planes and flew out of town Monday evening and Monday night. Okay, this was why they put out this press release on Tuesday. All right, well, we marched to the RNC and our mission here is done. Well, I saw the organizer, what's his name, Omar Flores. He was milling about the scene of this shooting, attempting to agitate, finding just purely local people to cause a big scene because of the homeless man's what appears to be justified police shooting death. And I say appears to be because we clearly don't have all the details yet. There were no widespread massive protests or marches. Nothing got out of hand. Now, of course, every police officer in the country is here right now, so that might have something to do with it. However, there was no massive uprising because this isn't a grassroots movement. And this sort of proves it, doesn't it? That these are all out-of-state people who come in. You'll notice even with the Jacob Blake riots, it wasn't until the video was public in the early afternoon, but you notice there weren't massive crowds that gathered until all of the crew came up from Chicago, out of state, to sort of set the city ablaze. There was none of that because they had already left. I can't tell you how revealing that is about the protest movement in America, whether it's the pro-Palestinian cause, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the old Occupy Wall Street OGs who are still hanging around with the young pups in the protest movement. It's artifice. It is bought and paid for. They don't naturally organize. You know what the real grassroots protest movement in America is? MAGA. There is no organizing structure. First it was the Tea Party, and then all of those people gravitated towards President Trump because of his message. His message was the same brand of populist conservatism that they had desired. They had demanded from the GOP, and the GOP didn't listen until Donald Trump threw a big orange rock through the window of their penthouse and crashed the party and took it over. And tonight, we're going to hear from another guy who comes from about as humble beginnings as possible, a drug-addicted family. He rose to the highest levels of success in America, the halls of the United States Senate, and President Trump sees how well his vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, can speak to everyday Americans. He sees how well he connects with their struggles, and he sees how well they are able to reflect themselves in him. someone who was always able to do that here in Wisconsin. He is somewhere in the area of the Republican National Convention. We welcome to the show former Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson. Sir, welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Yeah, we have been having issues with volume on the microphone. Is this better, sir? Okay. I'm doing fantastic, sir. How are you? What's your thought about the RNC thus far? It was great seeing you yesterday, however briefly. Well, sir, that means so much coming from you. It has to be sort of the culmination for you of a life's work of promoting conservatism and republicanism here in Wisconsin, to have the RNC here and to have the entire world of conservative politics coming to your home state, a state that you led for so long. What does that sense of pride feel like for you? He is one of the greatest governors this state or any state has ever had, Republican or Democrat. Tommy Thompson, sir, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Morning, man.
Well, sir, that is incredible. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show, and we will be right back to it live from the Republican National Convention. Next. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show, live from the Republican National Convention. We are at UWM Panther Arena, just down the block from the Fiserv Forum, where tonight we will hear from J.D. Vance, the Ohio senator, who is now President Trump's vice presidential running mate. We are hearing from him for the first time. He does give a heck of a speech. I mean, he was on Fox News a whole lot during this campaign, and I am really looking forward to that tonight. Of course, I will be here all day, all night. I will be tweeting live. We are going to Fox News's coverage this evening. You may hear me pop up on various WISN or WIBA shows later on in the day, as we are just a couple of hours away and about 40 hours away from former President Trump delivering his acceptance speech tomorrow night. Is the culmination of 4 straight days of parties and fun. And you will hear it all right here on WISN, WIBA, and iHeart Radio. One of the more effective speeches of the entire evening was Florida Senator Marco Rubio, generally considered to be one of the top 3 finalists to be Trump's running mate, along with Doug Burgum, the role that ultimately went to Vance, said what Americans really want is simple: prosperity, safety, and security. Right now, under President Biden, we're getting none of that. Little Marco, as Trump infamously called him during the 2016 campaign, grew to love former President Trump after working with him when Trump was president, and Rubio was one of his chief allies in the Senate and campaigning for him all throughout this cycle. The message of all last night was that you don't need to love President Trump. You don't need to be behind him on any issue, because these are the issues: prosperity, peace, and safety that unite all of us. I don't think you could possibly have a better 2-minute encapsulation of what the Trump movement, of what the conservative movement, the Republican Party, the American movement is than that. And we will have much more on that. More audio sound bites. We'll get to some calls, some texts as well, live from the Republican National Convention. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Dan O'Donnell here live at the Republican National Convention presented by AmericanMedicalPlans.com. Save 30 to 60% with better coverage at AmericanMedicalPlans.com. Tonight belongs to Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance. He is scheduled to speak at 9:30 this evening. At 9:05, Donald Trump Jr., who will be introduced by his daughter, Kai Trump. And before that, I am so excited for this. Sergeant Bill Peckrell, a decorated war hero, a World War II and D-Day veteran, will be addressing the Republican delegation and the world on TV. I am so excited for this because Bill is a resident of New Berlin. And years ago, I actually interviewed him and put together a piece on his journey. It was for the 75th anniversary of D-Day, or possibly it was the 70th. I'm actually feverishly going back through my archives, and I've been looking for this since Bill was announced as one of the speakers, trying to find this story that I did on him and his journey. It was an amazing journey of heroism and selfless sacrifice that only started on D-Day, because he's been serving his community every single day since for 80 plus years now. It's just an amazing story. He is the one that I am really looking forward to seeing tonight, because the thing that I'm really looking forward to the most each night is, yes, hearing from the Republican elected officials and dignitaries and whomever else, but the everyday Americans are giving, I think, just as good, if not better, speeches, just speaking from the heart about what it is that Trump conservatism, what I'm calling Americanism, means to them, and just how badly they've been harmed by Biden and Democrats' tremendous failures. One of those, Meline, a mother from New York who lost her decorated veteran son to homicide on the streets of New York, laid the blame solely at the feet of the highly politicized prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, who doesn't go after thugs and criminals, but rather his political opponents. In 2.5 minutes that you simply have to hear, I believe Meline gave the speech of the RNC. That is just an incredibly poignant 2.5 minutes. I would strongly encourage you to listen to and watch her entire speech. I'm not even sure. Producer Dave, was she on television? Was she on Fox News? I believe only C-SPAN. CNN is actually, I'm told, doing a good job of playing most of the speeches instead of just going to the talking heads and dipping in and out. Obviously, the biggest speeches, basically in the 9 o'clock hour, you're going to get uninterrupted coverage of those speeches. But anybody who speaks beforehand, and I believe Meline was in that 9 o'clock hour, but you're obviously going to hear J.D. Vance in his entirety. I hope you hear Bill Peckrell in his entirety. If not, I'm sure there are YouTube streams you can get to, but it was such a powerful 6.5, maybe 7 minute speech, just all of it. I'm telling you, this was one of the big moments. And again, this was a moment that was designed to tell people it's okay to feel that Democrats have failed you. Even if you have been voting Democrat your entire life, even if you feel pressure amongst your social circle, your family and friends to vote Democrat, that there's ostracism towards voting for a Republican, that you can't possibly vote for a Republican because they're racist, because they're homophobic, whatever it is. Even if your entire family has always voted Democrat, it's okay. It's okay to look back at 2017 to 2021 and say, hey, things were objectively a lot better by pretty much every conceivable measure back then than they are now. And the only difference is who's in charge. It's not the pandemic. It's not Russia invading Ukraine. It's because we have a different president. It's because for 2 years we had a Democrat Congress. And it's because they created the inflation time bomb that exploded. And everybody in this country is collateral damage. Every single person. Whether they're black, white, Hispanic, rich, poor, gay, straight, trans, whatever. Whether they're in blue cities, in red cities, in Milwaukee, or Waukesha, or Waukegan, Illinois, New York City, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, they all feel the same pain. We all buy groceries. We all have to pay rent or a mortgage. We all have to gas up our cars. We all have to heat our homes. We can't afford it anymore. We all see the impact of importing an entirely new country of illegal immigrants into our country. We see the havoc that is caused. We see the consequences of no prosecutions, of defunding the police, of what I call decriminalizing crime. And it's okay to notice. It's okay to assign blame. And most importantly, it's okay to do something new. It's okay to support a different leader. It's okay to support a different party because the current one has been an utter failure. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. We will be right back with more conservative thought, not just talk.
First beard on the ticket since 1892. You familiar with that? I did not know First time since 1892. President, Vice President with beard. Very important to know.
All right, folks, how we doing here watching the live stream on Facebook and YouTube? I'm not sure exactly why we're not streaming on X. It's kind of amazing. We'll get like 50 people on YouTube. We'll get like 20 people on Facebook. And we'll get 2,000 on X. You tell me that social media censorship isn't a real thing, because I've got just as many followers on Facebook as I do on X. And by the way, if you haven't, if you're here, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do share it. I know, folks, it's hard, and I do apologize. I wish I had an easy way to show you the system that we're broadcasting from. It's called a Roadcaster, and it's basically a radio studio in a tiny little box. It's a remarkable thing. But unfortunately for our purposes, to do a radio show and to have all the sound bites and the music and everything, you need to be able to feed into the camera what's called the program audio, and we don't have the ability to do that. So the only thing that you can hear, because they're headsets, so what we have are jacks that simultaneously are in and out jacks, so it's a microphone and a headphone jack. And if I were to plug the camera audio into one of those, all you would hear, because it's simultaneously going in and out, all you would hear would be a giant buzz. So I figure hearing just my beautiful voice is better than that. So what do you guys think? Are you enjoying the show? I hope. I'm seeing a lot of you saying, well, I'm just listening on YouTube and watching Dan. I love that. I love that. It's only going to be one more day of this. We're actually back in the studio on Friday. Is that correct, Chris? You guys aren't here on Friday, right? You'll be here until noon? So theoretically, I could still do my show from here. 9 to 11. Okay. Well, I guess I will be here on Friday morning, too, which is good because I'm probably going to be, there's a big gavel down party, they're calling it, at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. And Jason Aldean is playing. And I will be there and probably there until about 1 a.m. because it is going to be the biggest party for Republicans in 4 years. At least until November when we win. November 5th, I should take that back. November 5th is going to be the biggest party. This is going to be the second biggest party of the year. And by the way, I don't think it should be lost on anybody. I was kind of joking that the one protester, the one fat chick with the megaphone, was the only protester. I mean, she was literally the only protester outside the RNC. That should not be lost on anyone because it means that they don't have the heart. You know what I'm saying? Like their hearts aren't in it. They don't feel like they're doing something. Now, don't get me wrong. No, Blue Moon asks, will we know the results on November 5th? No, because of mail-in ballots. We'll know the results by about November 12th, 13th, because they just need so much time to count them, all right? And that, don't get me wrong. This is why you cannot take anything for granted. Right? This is why you absolutely have to, this is why we do the state's largest early vote drive. This is why we try to get everybody out there. Yeah, Catabauer. I'm pretty sure Saturday took the wind out of their sails. It absolutely did. It did. And that's why even during our live coverage on Saturday, I said, look, you cannot divorce this event from the political ramifications of it. It's a massive part of the story. And I think the race fundamentally changed on Saturday. There are a lot of smart Democrats that I'm hearing are saying behind the scenes, look, it's not going to matter. This is why they're moving now to just have Biden be the sacrificial lamb. They don't want to, quote unquote, waste a Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or an up-and-coming star because they know no matter what they do. I firmly believe this. Even their fraud machine, I don't think can save them from what it seems, at least, they all seem to know is coming. We know the results now, but will they still cheat and claim Biden wins with 80 trillion votes? KM, they sure as hell would try. All right, I got to be back on the radio. Just a second. Yes, I believe so. Classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. We are live from the Media Center, the big iHeartRadio booth, where in just a couple of seconds, Clay and Buck will be broadcasting live. And wouldn't you know it, Clay and Buck just showed up to the set for the third day of the Republican National Convention. I believe the speech of the convention thus far was the mother from New York whose son was killed in New York City. I think the line of the convention belongs to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the former White House press secretary and now governor of Arkansas. That is just absolutely savage. I'm sorry, that is savage. Ron DeSantis got off a great line as well about the weekend at Bernie's presidency. I mean, folks, okay, now I'm sure we're going to get lectured about, the rhetoric, and aren't we supposed to tone down the rhetoric in the wake of the assassination? Yes, saying the president who is in obvious cognitive decline is the exact same as saying he's an unspeakable, unrelenting, unmerciful threat to the American way of life and the world order. That's not exactly the same. You do see the difference between, hey, this guy is 81 years old. Can we please just let him rest, First Lady Macbeth? By the way, do you think, Producer Dave, how many people do you think get that reference? I realize I've been saying it for about 2 weeks now. And Lady Macbeth is obviously a character, one of the main characters of the Shakespearean play, The Tragedy of Macbeth, right? And she goads her husband into killing the king, and she becomes Queen of Scotland and essentially rules as a tyrant. Like, she's the power behind the... So, you remember The Sopranos? Livia Soprano, Tony's mom? She was in fact, the first season of The Sopranos is absolutely based on Macbeth. It is a Shakespearean tragedy that was supposed to end. I am told it was supposed to end with Tony. The show itself was supposed to end with Tony going to smother his mom with a pillow. This is how the show was originally supposed to end. I don't remember where I heard this. No. The show. She died, remember, about halfway through, so they had to switch it out. And it was going to end with him going to smother and then realizing that she had already died of a stroke. And it was going to pan out with him just contemplating his life, which I think is a pretty awesome way to end. Unfortunately, the actress Nancy Marchand, who, ironically enough, was like the nicest lady, I guess the cast and the crew she was like the sweetest lady, but played this awful woman. So Lady Macbeth turns into a murderous tyrant. I believe she eventually kills herself. It has been so long. I was an English major. I actually took a class just on Shakespeare when I was at Marquette. It was a fantastic class. And it has been 20-some years since I've read Macbeth. So you'll have to... But First Lady Macbeth is what we're calling Jill Biden, because she simply will not let her husband rest. There's a different... Joe Biden is not a threat to the Republic, inasmuch as he's going to destroy democracy. He's going to, like Lady Macbeth, become an actual dictator. The left is constantly telling us that if Trump is elected, 2024 might be the last election that we have. Just think about first how insane that is, and think about how insane it is that we've essentially normalized that. Right? That we are just so accustomed to hearing, oh yes, if Trump wins, if Trump is democratically elected, think about this contradiction in terms. If Trump is democratically elected, it will be the end of democracy. That's an inherent paradox, but nobody seems to ever call the left on it because, of course, the left, the Democratic Party, enjoys the single biggest advantage in American politics, and that's complete and total control of the mainstream media. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the media actually is driving this car. I'm not entirely sure, but one thing is clear, they are all in the same car, driving America off a cliff, naturally, Thelma and Louise style. And while I don't think they're going out without a fight, I do believe that the one protester, the lone woman with the megaphone, is more important than you might think. Sure, it's funny. She's yelling and she's screaming and she's all by her lonesome. But this means something a little bit more. Producer Dave, do we have that soundbite of the protester yelling, Donald Trump is trash, Donald Trump is trash? It says something, and I think it says something important, that she was the only one there. It really does. Producer Dave, do we have that soundbite? The protester, I believe you called it Trump is trash. Do we have that? All right, it's going to take a little second. We're going to use that to play us out, Bill O'Reilly style. We're not going to do it live. We've got the soundbite of this woman from yesterday going, Donald Trump is trash, and then screaming. She's the only one there. Folks, they had one day. They're going to do a march to the RNC. Do you have any idea what other RNCs have looked like with respect to the protest scene? They're all over the place. And now it's just this one lonely protester. I cannot get enough of that, folks. Truly, I cannot. She would then launch into just these screaming little diatribes. We will have to leave it there. We are out of time. Have no fear. I will be providing coverage on social media all day and all night. I'm thinking about doing a live stream, too. Otherwise, if you can't tune into that, we will be back 9 a.m. tomorrow here on The Dan O'Donnell Show.
No,